Higher, faster, smarter. Who doesn't want, as an athlete, these three assets in their life? And you certainly deliver all that and more. I've got Susan Kovacs. She is a performance mindset coach. You have an amazing business called Athletes Game Changer. How did you get into being a performance mindset coach? Where did it all begin?
It actually began a few years ago when I found the power of mindset in my own life and how that was able to influence and impact the goals that I had set for myself. So I had spent 30 years of my life really not pushing myself to the limits anywhere. And that was due to the fact that I had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis almost 32 years ago at the age of 24. And when I was diagnosed, my neurologist gave me 3 pieces of advice. And he said, avoid stress, don't do anything to exert yourself physically, and if you were planning on having children, I would recommend that you don't. So I didn't listen to the last piece of advice, thankfully, and I have a beautiful daughter. However, I really didn't push myself in any area of my life for fear that I was going to do something to negatively impact my health. So when I hit my early 50s, I decided to start working with a strength coach, and that's where everything really changed for me. We'd been working together for a little while, and she asked me if I'd ever thought about doing a triathlon.
Wow. Okay. And this is over the course of 30 years. And what was that epiphany one day in your 50s going, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this change. What was that?
I think it was really, where did I want my life to go? And I certainly didn't want to, I knew the importance of health and fitness and wellness on, aging process and things like that. And I certainly didn't want to just sit around and let things happen to me. I wanted to be proactive. I certainly didn't think that I would push things too far, but it was important to me to just stay active and to, positively influence my health in that way.
So walk me through this. You were now working with someone, and then what happened next?
So when she asked me if I was
to be in a triathlon, I mean, you go from like not doing that, and then all of a sudden, hey, you want to be in a triathlon? That sounds great. Sure, sign me up. That's amazing. And I mean, not everybody just even in great goes, yes, I'm going to do this. That's a big step.
And it was interesting because my first thought, of course, was there is absolutely no way. Like, first off, no, I've never thought about doing a triathlon. That was the farthest thing from my mind. But what the interesting thing that happened was I couldn't get the thought out of my mind. I kept wondering what it would be like to cross that finish line. So I had that going on, and yet the internal conflict was, you can't do that. If you push yourself, you could hurt yourself, or you could do something to negatively impact your health. So I had a real conflict going on, but the moment that I made that decision that I was going to train for a triathlon, that was the game changer for me. That was when everything shifted.
So it's like you had these 2 little people on your shoulders, and one you just kind of went, get lost, you're gone.
You're gone.
Yeah. And,
exactly.
and this came. So, and you have become the game changer for so many athletes. How did this transpire? Like, I've seen you make changes in people's lives. Do you want to share some examples?
Sure, I'd love to, yeah. And I've been fortunate enough to work with some really amazing athletes. And it's just, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to work with these people. So one of the people that I worked with, probably the first one that I'll tell you about, is a golfer that I worked with. And a very common issue that a lot of athletes have is just being able to translate what they do in practice to game or tournament situations. So they're able to, do a skill in practice and nail it, and then as soon as they get into a game or tournament, they're not able to do it anymore. And that was the case for this golfer. And on the driving range or in practice rounds, he could nail his drive down the fairway, and it was straight and it was perfect. But he'd get into a game situation or a tournament situation, and he couldn't consistently do that anymore. So one of the things that we looked at in that situation is the expectations that we have. And I don't know if you're a golfer or not, but
as you're talking about this, these are all good points, and I've seen this happen. And I've got a friend who actually you see it happen with some of the professionals out there, exactly like what you're saying. You're perfect, and then all of a sudden you're off your game.
You're off your game.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I looked back when I was golfing, and a lot of the people that I know as well, and maybe some people can relate to this too, it's that first round of the season. You go out there, and that tended to be one of my best rounds of the season.
Yeah.
And
no inhibitions. It's like, I got nothing to lose. goes, right? Like, yeah.
Exactly. No
Yeah.
expectations. You don't have any
Bingo.
expectations about how the round is going to
Yes.
go. So
Yeah.
you just go out and you play.
Yeah.
There's no stress, no pressure, and away you go. So as soon as we start adding that stress and that pressure and those expectations and being attached to an outcome that we've got, that's when we create that stress in ourselves, and then that negatively influences our performance. We can't perform to the same level as soon as we start doing things like that. So really with this gentleman, we were working on being present and not thinking ahead to the end of the game and just what was going on in that moment, and really looking at outcomes as feedback. So it's not a positive or a negative, it's just feedback, and you take that with you, and it's what do I need to work on for my next round or performance. And this goes for athletes, it goes for any type of a performance though that anybody's doing. I mean, all of these things can be used in any area of our life. So whether somebody's giving a speech, whether somebody's having a difficult conversation with somebody, whatever it is, those types of things, these strategies can be used in those areas as well. So once this gentleman started, being present in the moment, not being attached to the outcome, and really looking at what he needed to just do at that moment, then he was able to more consistently get those drives down the fairway.
And I think it's so important to have someone like you to be that unobjection, that second set of eyes that can see this without the prejudice perhaps that they would bring to the game, right? With all of the background, with all of the baggage of everything happening in their head, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, we all have our own perceptions of everything, our own beliefs,
Yes.
and that's one of the key things in working with the athletes as well, is that they're all unique. So they're all going to create their own success formula. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for the other
You
one.
don't have a cookie cutter formula for everyone.
Exactly.
Everyone's different, right? Of course.
Yeah, everyone's had different experiences, and so yeah, it really is finding out what it is that works for them. So yeah.
Any other examples you want to share?
Sure.
You have a lot. I mean, I'm pulling it. It's like, but these are all, I think everyone can take a piece, like when you're talking about the golfer, you can totally apply this to your life, and maybe you're not a golfer, but I used to competitively swim, same sort of thing. You're thinking about 4 races down the road that you've got in that meet when you should be focusing on freestyle at this very moment, not what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, the mind is a dangerous thing. Like, it can play tricks on you, right? So as a performance mindset coach, you really set people on the right track. And what a difference. What have you found for your clients? Like, it must be so rewarding when they come back and it's like, wow, you have taken my game or my performance level from here to here. The whole higher, faster, smarter. She delivers. Susan delivers.
Yeah, it is I'm so blessed and honored to be able to be a part of their journey and to have them, and they have all the answers. My clients have it within them. So we all know what we need to do to achieve our goals, but it's sometimes it's the how. We get in our own way and we stop ourselves. So it's just them finding, how do they get there? What is it that they need to do to achieve their level of success?
Okay, one more example before we go.
Okay, and this one's a key because, again, it really talks to anybody, and that's confidence. And that's
Yes.
it's a huge one. And so I was working with a young goalie, and he would go into a game situation and be full of confidence if he'd had a couple of really good practices, and he's feeling really good. He gets into a game situation and they score on him early in the game, and he loses his confidence. So all of a sudden he's concerned about that. He's, what's the coach going to say? What are my teammates going to say? And he starts beating himself up. And which again, I mean, you're not going to perform at your best in a situation like that. So the funny thing is we always think that our confidence is tied to external results. And it's not. We can actually just choose to be confident. So we can be proactive, choose to be confident, and know that whatever happens, it's not going to it's not going to impact the confidence that we have in our abilities. And confidence and arrogance are 2 different things, and quite often people get those confused. So somebody who's confident, they're aware of their abilities as well as the abilities of everybody else. Where somebody that's arrogant they're more concerned about themselves. They're afraid of not performing to their best for how they're going to look to other people, and they don't really see the abilities of other people or aren't concerned as much about the abilities of other people. So that's sort of the difference there when it comes to that. And so in a situation like that, again, it's an evaluation. when you're in a situation where you maybe have something happen that could eat away at your confidence. So evaluate the situation, don't judge. Look at it as feedback. And what can I learn from this? And you might not be able to process that at the moment, but at the end of a game or a tournament, rather than beating yourself up, it's sort of looking, how can I take this to help me move forward and improve down the road?
These are game-changing tips right here from Susan Kovacs. You are certainly a game changer. Who is your ideal client? You work with pros, and then you also work with young athletes and all of that in between. Who do you want to work with, perhaps?
So I think the ideal client for me is anybody who's an elite athlete who really wants to, or who wants to be an elite athlete, who's really serious about optimizing their performance. I mean, they've got a team around them, their coaches, their strength coaches and things like that. And somebody once said to me, and I love this line, and I kind of took it for my own, and it's like the legal steroid. It's that missing piece. So anybody who really wants to move to the next level and is passionate about what they do and still wants to have that love of the game, then that's the ideal client for me.
So they have the passion, she's got the expertise, you've got all the values built up into this with being higher, faster, smarter. You will build it and work together as a team.
Exactly.
To get the results that you are looking for. It's Susan Kovacs. Head to her website. It is athletesgamechanger.com. You'll be able to get her contact information there. And I can tell you, you certainly won't regret it. Game changer, Susan Kovacs. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.